Talk to people in their late 20s and early 30s, and you will hear a surprisingly similar story. They are pausing. They are delaying marriage, putting off having children, and walking away from the idea of taking entrepreneurial risks. The usual societal diagnosis for this is pretty simple. We tend to assume this generation is overly hesitant, lacks the willpower to commit, or simply refuses to grow up. But look closer at the timeline of a modern life, and a highly structural issue appears. We have steadily pushed the actual starting line of adulthood further and further out of reach. Today, an entire decade is swallowed by a state of suspended animation. The 20s are no longer a time to exist as an independent adult. Instead, those years are almost entirely consumed by an endless loop of university, entrance exams, resume building, and unpaid internships. When major life milestones get delayed, it is the direct result of being trapped in a decades-long waiting room of preparation. The 20s, as we know them, have effectively been erased. Consider the primary tool we use for all this preparation, the 12-year school system. Every election cycle, politicians argue over what belongs in this vessel: more digital literacy, better basics, lower tutoring costs. Yet no one stops to ask why we hold people inside this system for so long in the first place. Over those 12 years, the system relentlessly optimizes for one very specific capability: the ability to sit down, look at a set of predefined problems, and solve them as quickly and flawlessly as possible. Mapping human test-taking speed against an AI's exponential processing curve shows humans are now obsolete at predefined tasks. Yet, focusing strictly on test-taking leaves the human side hollow, completely void of actual survival skills, like reading contracts, dotting statistics, or evaluating risk. We endure over 10 years of rigorous systemic schooling, only to graduate entirely unequipped for the analytical and functional realities of independent life. Because this preparation phase stretches on relentlessly, the true point of entry into society and the workforce now sits between ages 26 and 28. This creates an immediate cascade effect. When a professional works for 5 to 10 years, masters their role, and hits their career peak, they are suddenly staring down age 40. On a traditional timeline, milestones like starting a career, marriage, a house, and kids were evenly spaced across 2 decades. But shifting the starting line to 28 acts like a snowplow, violently compressing all adult responsibilities into your most intense career-building years. When someone hesitates to marry or buy a house under these conditions, it is a highly rational response to an overwhelming temporal bottleneck. And even after navigating this bottleneck, society maintains an illusion of the start. College is framed as prep for a job. A first job is framed as prep to settle down. Yet society treats each new phase as just another waiting room, never granting a feeling of full arrival. The collapse of traditional life milestones is a mathematical inevitability. It happens exactly when you try to compress decades of adult responsibilities into a single 5-year window. So, what is the actual destination of all this preparation? True adulthood is not triggered by hitting a specific legal age or receiving a final diploma. The core mechanic of adulthood is the absolute authority to make an independent choice, fail at it, and bear the responsibility of that failure. Under the guise of protection, society actively withholds this authority. We tell them to wait, to study longer, and hold off on risks until they are fully mature. This creates a feedback loop. Withheld responsibility leads directly to stunted maturity. This triggers a societal demand for more preparation, which feeds right back into withholding responsibility. The critical flaw? Maturity requires making mistakes and failing, the exact input this protective system actively blocks out. By refusing to let people fail early, we guarantee the very behavior we complain about. We permanently trap them in a state of unearned adolescence, which means we have to stop asking why the next generation is acting so immature. Instead, we need to ask, are they immature because they aren't ready? Or are they immature because society refuses to stop holding them back?